Welcome to TheSystem.ca, the art and science of coaching, providing innovative information on new speed, power, recovery, wellness, strength and conditioning for both athletes and active individuals. Children and multilateral development, and basically you're telling me you're running up and you're in a field when you're a child. You had some
buildings sort of heads and all that stuff, and we were climbing up the building and jumping off onto the ground from me, like it's about a story high, which is built-in plyometrics. So you don't think about it at the time, but the amount of times I've jumped off a building onto the ground, thousands of times as a 10-year-old. So talking about lifting weights, that's way tougher than lifting weights. So yeah, play and that was just innate to us. That was just fun. But sometimes you don't want it. Sometimes you need structure, and sometimes you don't want to be too structured.
Agreed. So let me ask you a little aside here. Did you have a towel wrapped around your neck like a superhero when you did that?
That was the idea, but we did it without the towel. Yeah.
Okay, I had the towel, man.
Okay.
You had to have the towel because when you jumped off, it looked kind of cool. That the thing flapping behind your back. I think I jumped off one time. It was like at least 2 meters. It was on the grass though. And,
it was on the field. It was on the grass. It wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. You would kind of. That was one of the kind of competitions I think we had. Who can jump from the highest before breaking something, I guess. I don't know. This is what happens. You don't have internet, like video games, right?
That just was I remember it.
Sure.
Other stupid things we did as a kid. And this is before I left England. This was in England. So I was 10 or 11 years old. Is we'd have this game where we'd go on the street, which it wasn't a highway, but it wasn't a side street. It was like a main road with cars coming along. And we would see who could run across at the last possible minute without getting hit.
This is why video games are invented.
Can't believe it. Well, the stupid things we did that made us, stronger, jumping, and fast. Because how close can you get to that car without leaving a sidewalk and running in front of these cars? It was crazy. Anyway. I think I can add to that. Not to have a conversation on who topped up the most stupidest stuff, but we had rock fights. All right. I don't think we ever had a rock fight, but yeah.
Yeah.
You got me.
It was interesting. But anyways, you mentioned something here about play, which is a really key thing. And I remember taking a course with Joe Levy at York University. It's called Theories of Play. And I only took it because I figured, okay, how hard can this be? Theories of play. This is definitely going to boost me back. My GPA is going to go up with this one. Was I sadly mistaken? It was a pretty theoretical course, and it required you, it was a full year course, and he made you think. And one of the two things that came up that I can't remember, it's probably why I got a B+ and didn't get an A, was he defined play as suspension of reality and internal locus of control. And I think the third one was free flow. The idea is that you would make up the rules as you go. And it would be sort of arbitrary. We agree on something. And the sense of fairness was basically almost arbitrary. It was because of that, it would never be unfair. And I think kids have this innate ability to do this. And when you start to take away this element, I think you take away a lot of social development. And I could be wrong, but what's your take on that?
I have to having young kids.
Yeah.
So I'll play, with my 10-year-old, we're playing tag, and you're going around and you do something and he goes, no, you can't do that. Here's the rules. I'm like, when did you make that rule up? Just now.
This is the idea. We're free flow. Like you basically, these rules are made up arbitrarily.
But it wasn't fair. Everything else made sense except it wasn't fair. It's like, I didn't know that rule, so how could that be fair?
Well, the fairness is basically when the counter to that is like you have to make up your own rule, and then basically you impose that rule. So that's how it kind of balances itself out.
That doesn't work with a 10-year-old. You don't have a 10-year-old, do you? So
no,
he can make rules up, but I can't. Those are the rules. Those are his rules. You can make them up, but I can't. Anyway, we play.
You gotta put a Russell Peters on him. Somebody's gonna get hurt real bad.
Yeah, sure.
We're not advocating child abuse here, so don't come down on us here. I want to get into this idea of because you talk a lot about this on your Instagram, so I want to kind of lend into that and this idea of fasting and like give the listeners like an idea of what fasting is and the benefits of it.
Okay, so I actually just had a conversation with my client this morning who was sick for 3 days, and so she came in and she said, you know what, I don't feel good. I haven't done anything. I haven't eaten for 3 days. I feel a little weak, and she had the best workout of her life. And she goes, why do I have so much energy? So I learned this in high school. I never used to eat when I ran. I'd go like at Olympics. I went 3 days without food. And people look like it drives me nuts. You go to a gym and personal trainers are telling their clients, oh, you got to have this protein shake before workout or during workout to give you energy for working out. It's so ludicrous. Now we have the science, which is great. Like we never had now I know why we did it. We did. So I would run and not eat, feel great, and then I'd eat something and feel like crap. So I kept that up for my whole career. I never ate before I worked out. I never ate before I competed because it just felt right. I didn't know what the science was. Now I know what the science is. It's you release so much more energy from a fat molecule than you do from sugar. So
for sure, yeah.
So people are always thinking that gotta eat sugar because that's what our ATP is derived from. What it's the majority of our energy is derived from fat, not sugar. Yeah. But soon as you have any carbohydrate whatsoever, it raises your blood sugar level, raises your insulin, and locks the fat in, so you can't get to that stored energy. And what people don't know also is that even if you have protein, excess protein is converted to sugar as well, which raises your insulin. People use it's only fat that doesn't raise insulin. So if you want to access those stores, you got to fast, and you got that fat. Only fasting keeps your insulin levels low. Even like before, and you must have heard. I know you have the little 6 meals a day to raise your metabolism. The bodybuilders always used to reach. It's doing the exact opposite. It's the worst thing you can do. Your body needs that because every time you eat, no matter what, even if it's this much, your insulin goes up, locks fat in. So you're done. That's why people are getting fatter and sicker over the past 30 years, and all this new technology and medicine and all these things. And why are we getting worse? Why are we getting fat and sick? Because the research wasn't there, but now it is. And fasting just releases abundance of energy. It burns fat. It helps mitochondrial health. It helps metabolism. There's just so many benefits. And I'm not saying starving. Like I still eat 4,000 calories a day. Just I don't start fast for days. I just fast for a few hours a day. And if you think about it, you sleep for 8 anyway. Right. You're not supposed to eat before. If you want the benefits of recovery, which we talked about earlier. Yes. One of the best ways is not to eat for 3 or 4 hours before you go to bed. So say you eat, 3 hours before you go to bed, then you got 8 hours in bed. That's 11 hours already. If you wait an hour or two when you get up, you've just fasted for 13, 14 hours. Yes. And that has a huge benefit to your recovery, to your energy, to your health, and the study, anybody can Google it now. I've read like number of books on the subject, and it's so profound, and you don't even get hungry because when you access all those energy stores, that's why you get hungry. It's because your cells are going like, I need fuel. So if you're always continuously giving it sugar, which only lasts for a short amount of time, and then your insulin drops, your cells are going, I need more fuel. So that keeps you in that cycle. When you stop that, and then start releasing fat or using fat for fuel, you automatically are not hungry anymore. So sometimes I have to remind myself to eat because I'm just not hungry. It's like, oh, I should eat though. So it's the most, I think, and it's free.
That's right. And your And your food bills drop because you're not eating as much.
Yeah, it's the most profound, is the best way that people can use, not just for, fat loss and body composition, but for your health in general. It's the number one thing I tell people to do. You got to sleep well and you got to fast.
It's interesting. It's maybe another sort of little tagline. You got to eat well. You got to, fast well and then sleep well.
That's it.
That's it. It's as opposed to like eat well, which kind of, I know if every year I'm practicing or wishy-washy Muslim here, but I do fast, and I notice that usually by the third week in my fast, and people always ask me. I mean, we don't drink either. Like, we don't drink water till sunset, right? So you can't have actually nothing. But after the third week, you'd be surprised. I actually end up doing full workouts by the third week. The first 2 weeks, I kind of get I got to be careful, but because you have no food, no water, right? And you're waking up at an ungodly hour to kind of eat, and then you go back to bed again. It's like it kind of just screws up your day. Your night becomes your day becomes your night. But nonetheless, by the third week, your body actually starts going without food. And over the years I've been doing this, I've noticed, like you say, I can go for hours without food. And it's probably a bad thing because I probably should eat as well. But the idea is like I don't your ability to maintain your lean body mass, and then what you extract, I think, also from that food, because all of a sudden now you've gone from feast to famine, from famine to feast, and your body's like, oh, I better suck all this this nutrients up. And so the next time so you're actually absorbing better, than if you were eating 6 meals a day where you're going to get partial absorption, I think. And the other point I'd like to add to that is, going back and, when we were hunter and gatherers, we didn't have bagels. we didn't have all these kind of things. So it's these modern sort of packaged foods. Like today you're talking about a particular cereal. I'm not going to mention it, but if I was advocate, you can go ahead and do it.
Companies are freaking corrupt. Anyway.
Yeah. So, I'm thinking of like, this is like a well-known person on CP24 or whatever, and they're talking about this. I'm thinking, this is where, like, I think a lot of people have to kind of look at the person who's saying it, not just the information, where it's coming from. Like, they've got to live a little bit of that reality. At least in my opinion, you've got to live that reality a little bit, because that, to me, that shows a certain level of weight of knowledge, of wisdom that you have. But if you don't have that, you just have knowledge, information, well, that's easy to access in the internet. I could do that. But I want the wisdom behind it. And I think this is where I really feel that you kind of, exemplify that, which kind of, would give you an indication of how many people, in my opinion, should be actual trainers or people who should be given advice. Because I think you have to live it. Not to discount the other side completely, but I think there's something to be said about living that reality, right? Am I right?
I think if you can get the balance, that's what it is. I'm not saying there's a lot of guys who know way more than we do, but there's no common. What I think is what I like to express to people is, like, use a little bit of common sense. Like, if you think about it, and especially like you said, you can access anything now, but when you read it, just say, like, listen, like I said, if you look on the back of a cornflakes or Special K or Rice Krispies or Cheerios box, look at the ingredients. They're all either fake. They're all. Don't ever listen to anybody can put natural on the box.
Yes.
I can bring out, somebody gave me a Christmas package with all these healthy keto cookies, and I'm like, on the front it's marketing. On the back, do you see what's in here? And you don't even, the government doesn't even make you put everything that's in there on the package. And just food companies don't want to put what's in there on the package. There's multiple types of sugar. There's, high fructose corn syrup is like the biggest mistake that the government ever let happen, and it's still in foods, like in 70% of packaged foods, and it's just corruption. They help the sugar or the corn
industry, right?
And they give kickbacks, and they're giving the government, like it's all intertwined corruption and money making. That's all it is. But people should not be eating any of that stuff.
Maybe they should put, I know that, the big thing is like, oh, low fat. Well, maybe what they should put really in some of these things is like a glycemic index or something, saying, well, this is going to raise your insulin. I mean, that'd be more I think more practicality, I think. What do you think?
I think they should just put poison on the front of the box.
That too.
There's no difference.
Do that too.
There's Kellogg's cornflakes and rat poison. Same result. just takes a little bit longer. That's all.
Yeah, apparently, like, for one particular soft drink company, which starts with a C and ends with a starts with a C and also ends, the second letter is also a C as well. Apparently, that some of that can be used to clean off chrome.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
and it's apparently a very good toilet bowl cleaner.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah,
I mean,
so I just, I've heard, like, I've seen some stuff, the many uses of that product, which is really interesting. And people, I can't tell you when the last time I actually had one. Like, it just, yeah, it's quite amazing, right? But so we go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, the people don't realize, like, I know grandparents who give their grandchildren candies, and parents who still sending their kids off to school with Cheerios, and it's like, you know what? I've said this on my post too. Give them a cigarette. It's much healthier. Much healthier. Would you do that? No. So why would you do that with your, giving them cereal? Anyway, that's for your podcast for the day.
Yeah. And one more thing, you used a lot of general training, because I was reading an article recently with Malcolm Arnold, and they asked him what he does for training. And he said he does use a lot of general weights, and this goes along the same line with Charlie, what I've kind of read with Charlie, and working with Ben a bit. So they did a lot of general training for weights, and I know now the big trend and like big thing is like velocity-based training, where some of these powerlifting, and then there's strongman. Again, compartmentalizing these elements of training, which kind of gives labels to these things, which basically then, people fall into these camps. What's your take on these things?
Again, it goes back to what we said from when we started this, is everybody's coming up because they're trying to make programs to make money or try to be experts. And like, you know what, none of this is original. Especially when, for athletes, we need to do it because we're trying to achieve a certain sport or movement or thing like that. But for people in general, it's the same thing. Nobody just wants to walk around with big biceps and chest. They just want to feel good, and it's general movement it's movement in general. There's no, like you said, compartmentalizing these things, because number one, it takes too long. Number two, it's not sustainable. Unless you're the 1% who wants to be a bodybuilder or a gym rat. But in general, if people want to be healthier and fitter, it's doing the basics that we used to do 30, 40, 100 years ago, keeping it simple and stop trying to complicate things for people.
So give the listeners, this is, and I'm going to give you a shameless plug here. I'll allow you to give you a shameless plug to yourself. I remember in Charlie Francis' training system book, there was a picture of you bench pressing. And just kind of give the, what did you start off with and what did you end up with at the body weight? And did you do a lot of like powerlifting? Did you do a lot of like velocity-based training? I mean, give us a secret sauce here, Mark.
So again, if you're looking for the magic pill or the magic bullet, what are you going to call it? Training for us has never really, or for me, has never really changed throughout the time. We do our circuit training, same circuit training you see us doing, running up and down, doing push-ups and sit-ups. And we do that with running and without, high intensity circuit training. As far as strength and resistance training goes, there are three main exercises: clean, squat, bench. There are some other ones in between, but those are the main three that people have done through time. And I think because there hasn't been that much of a change, month to month or year to year, that's why we were able to get so strong. Because my competition weight was 162, and
162. Wow, that's light.
Yeah, and I've been up to, I think I got up to, the most I ever got up to was around 170, or 168, and even at that small increment, I didn't feel I could move. It's power to weight
ratio. Yeah.
Yeah. So for a guy of 162, I was benching 350, cleaning 350, and squatting 550, I think. So, and I've done, I've looked at the differences and trying to go. We did a lot of weight training one year, actually 91, with Colin. We did so much weight training, I couldn't put one foot in front of the other. Like I came last in every race. This was a year before the Olympics.
Right.
There is a balance there of doing too much of one thing and not enough of the other. And, everybody's different. But in general, we're talking about, there's athletes and there's general population. I always tell people, like, what do you want? What do you want out of life? Or your fitness, your health goals, whatever it is, and what are you willing to pay? Because there's always a price. And you got to get that in balance. Because if you want this and you're doing this, you ain't going to get it. So,
right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, just go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so basically, it's the repetition, as we said from the beginning of this interview, the repetition over years and years and years, and you just get stronger and stronger and stronger. It takes a while. With less injuries, if you take your time. I work with young athletes all the time, hockey, and the parents want them to put on weight. How do you put on pounds? You know what? The only way you're going to do it effectively is over time. You can go and eat, 6 steaks a day and get fat, and then you don't have the strength to carry that around. So you're not going to be a good athlete. You have to do it the correct way. Take your time. It's going to take a few years, and you'll be a better athlete, but it's going to take time.
And how long did it take you to progress to about 350? I'm saying this because I want to give the viewers this idea of progression and be patient with development because things take time. So give us an idea here.
So I started lifting weights when I went to Clemson, 1980, my first year of college. Didn't really do any weights at all in high school.
What was your bench then?
Oh, I couldn't. Probably the bar.
Are you serious? No, come on. As a hurdler, you got to be. I mean, as a sprinter, you'd have to have some power.
Not all sprinters lift. Not all athletes. Like Carl Lewis never used to lift anything.
No, yeah, I know. You could tell too. Yeah, no offense, but yeah.
But anyway, regardless of what he did, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he was. He was a technician in terms of running. He was so smooth.
I think he's fine. Again, I maybe don't see eye to eye, but you can't knock at one of the best Olympians ever.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Like I wholeheartedly agree. Like he was another one is even smoother. I would say it was Flo Jo, Florence Griffiths, man. She was just so technically sound. I remember watching her do the 100 meters, and she was smiling the whole way.
Yeah,
she was so relaxed, and she apparently accelerated. She was still accelerating.
Yeah.
If you look at her splits, it's unbelievable. You know, she didn't have the fastest time compared to, like, say, the men, but just look at the relaxation and the smoothness and the, she was able to just maximize that incredibly.
She was beautiful running. Yeah, she was.
So go back to this idea. When you were in Clemson there, what are you doing for bench there? Aside from the bar.
My body weight I was only a 125 when I went to college. I was small. I was skinny.
You're a tiny guy, man.
I think by the time I finished college, I was 145. So
okay, so you're basically doing your body weight. So how long did it take you to get to 350?
I was lifting 350 in 1993, I think.
12 years or 13 years.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because Ben ended up doing 475 for 3, which is 515. But I think if I can remember, and I could be wrong here, but I think he had 16. He was doing like 185, right? And then if you work that over a couple of years until you get up to 515, it's about 2.5 pounds per week. And so this idea of collagen. I remember Dan Paft saying he did a seminar and he said, skill lags behind fitness by about 2 weeks or 3, but thereabouts. And then I would say collagen development, from what I've been reading, like 3-dimensional, we're talking like your whole body kind of connective tissue or sinew, right? That lags behind by 4 to 6 months. So you gotta, which comes back to this idea of we talked about earlier. You kind of wait till the system's online till you add the weight, you change the program, right? So it took you that long to get from, which is really interesting because, college coaches or strength coaches and some of these teams are just trying to get these athletes so strong, but, and you kind of alluded to this idea, well, how elastic is that tissue now?
Exactly. It's like, you got to be able to use it. And I try to get people all the time that they're bored. Like, I can do more than this, Mark. I know you can, but just be patient, because everything else, like your tendons, you're like,
yes,
you blow out a hamstring, 2-3 weeks you're back. You blow out a knee, you're gone for the season.
Yes.
You just don't. So that's why I don't like things like leg extensions or leg press for that matter, because you're building these huge solid muscles and you're getting bigger and stronger, and your tendons, they don't have the same elasticity as like it takes a long time for those things to catch up to the strength of your muscles, just like you were saying with the collagen and the connective tissue. It's it's way longer. There's no blood flow there.
I can't remember who said this, but I think it was Charlie. He said there are no metals in the weight room.
There you go.
And I think that's a really, really profound point, because I know the industry, and again, I'm going to probably get in hot water here a little bit, but I've just seen, I'm 50 years old, 53 actually, and I've seen things come and go in one sense, the industry, right? Change from, at one point there was no training industry, then bodybuilding got into football, and it slowly evolved into powerlifting because of Louis Simmons, and, that whole, so every gym now looks like a powerlifting gym in the U.S. and they're using bands, they're using chains, they're using who else? And then you got the Velocitybased crowd. They got in that big, basically, like I said, maybe it lends to the idea that they're supporting for you to buy a Tendo unit, which is I don't know how many, or a push unit. Again, I'm not not offending these companies, but I'm just making an observation here that you have to buy these instruments now to determine if the bar speed is going fast. Like I think if you did a clean, you can, I don't know, if you either make your lift or you don't make the lift, that'll tell you how fast you are.
Like, how important is that? Oh, today, like you said, no metals are one in the weight room. Today I moved it at 32 kilometers per meter or whatever they measure it in, and next week I'm doing 34. Are you any better?
Yeah, and how does that translate now to your sport?
Yeah.
So I see a lot of these conditioning coaches use all these, I'm not going to mention a name, but there's one person on the LinkedIn. He's not from here, he's from another country, but anyways, he has a band attached to the athlete, and then the athlete is running away from where the band is attached, and then he's holding on a medicine ball over his head, and then he kind of like comes back. And I'm just thinking, you have so much time in the day to train, and again, depending on the rehab, I mean, I could be wrong here, but I'm just thinking that I'm trying to figure out the usage of that, and I'm thinking, like, let me ask Mark, what does he think about that?
I know exactly what you're talking about. And I've been there, and it's all shit. And there's no athletes that come out of that.
Is that the technical term for it?
That's the technical term. Shit.
Okay.
There's no athletes that come out of that whole structured development that they have down there either. So anyway,
I kind of question some of that reality. Only reason why is because when you're at the college level, you're playing at the pro level, you already have an athlete that's a half decent skill. Like, you already have a athlete per se. In my opinion, my estimation, and you can maybe add to this and say, you know what, I may be part of that shit crowd. I don't know, but I think the last thing, the main thing you want to do is don't hurt the guy, and just maintain that level and just be patient, develop it slowly, as opposed to, you know what, let's make sure he can hit 1.6 meters per second on his bar velocity, and not knowing the technique and doing that. And I'm watching this one particular sprint coach I won't make a reference to, but I did make a mention on his Instagram saying that perhaps you should, you know, change the technique on the bar on how you're lifting. And I was even saying I would, you know, recommend saying maybe you should watch two of the greatest weightlifters I think is Dmitry Klokov from the Soviet Union and Alexei Torkity from the Ukraine, and they're both gold medalists, and they both advocate a certain type of position for when you're doing the Olympic clean, where the foot position and stuff. So the bar, basically, the idea is that the bar gets in the way with your hip. And I'm watching these guys on the Instagram, and these guys are, you know, they're doing almost like when they come up, they're doing going wide out, you know, like the technique. So I know you get in the power aspect of certain things, but the cost of the technique, and you're training the wrong patterning, in my opinion. And then, you know, you post that, and I'm thinking, and I can't make a comment because I made a comment to that, and then somebody else literally trolled me. And this is a very well-known conditioning coach. And I had to basically call him and say, listen, man, I made a simple comment. I didn't insult you. Why are you trolling me? And I was really offended by that. I said, well, you can't make a comment. And I'm going to listen. Here's a guy. Here's these two guys, world champion. I mean, like, I picked up information from them, watching them for like 22 hours of video. You know, give me your take.
Well, no, I'm the same as you. Is like most of the stuff that you've seen me talk about, it's not something that I came up with. I find the best experts that I can find to make what I'm doing better. Like I'm not the best in the world. I've been the best in the world, which
you are. Let's face the fact. I mean, listen, you can't. I think you got to take into account. Listen, I'm saying this is going back to what I said earlier. Success leaves clues, right? So you got to take into account, like, okay, Mark, you don't have a PhD, you don't have a master's, right? You get an undergraduate, but am I not going to take, you know, stock into what you're saying? I mean, you've lived this reality. Come on, like, I mean, that's got to be worth something to me, anyways. I don't know. I'm gonna take some textbook as well. I think you got to, like you said, you got to just put it all together, but you can't discount somebody because they don't have a PhD.
100%. And like I said, it's like you got to, you know, I don't have a PhD, but I can read.
Yeah.
I can read what all the best people are saying, and I can be wrong. It's just, you know, it's just one guy's opinion. From the research I've done and the experience I've had, I've tried to put that together as best I can. And yeah, sometimes people go, Mark, you know, a 6-year-old will say, Mark, why didn't you do it this way? And I'm like, shit, I never even thought about that. You're absolutely right, and I'm wrong. Like, I can be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to have a discussion. It's okay to have a debate. That's the whole purpose of what I'm doing on Instagram, is like having people, everybody's sort of agreeing with me right now. It's like, I'd like to have some people going like, no, you know what, Mark, you're wrong with this. And then I'll go back, and it helps me to study more. It helps me to learn more, and it helps me to help people. But that's, you know, that's the whole democratic society that we live in, right?
Yeah, I think somebody told me once, he says, always enter an argument hoping the other person will prove you wrong. Yeah, and I think one of the problems is in this day and age, and I don't want to get into too much of the social media thing, but people, when they post, when you talk to somebody face to face, or obviously what we're doing right now, there's a lot of tone inflection. There's a lot of stuff. There's mannerisms, you know, that we see that give us an indication of where that person is coming from, how that information is being taken, right? And when you post stuff on Instagram, or you post these things, sometimes, and I always try to use emojis as much as I can. I always put, like, you know, the prayer hands, 2 hands together, like, you know, this is my humble opinion, you know, just a thought, you know. I always try to keep that in mind, because I know people sometimes take that the wrong way. Depending on the mood that they're in at the time when they receive that message. There's so many things now that people are so sensitive that you can't have discussion. You no longer can have a discussion with people without, you know, somehow the other offending them. But we're not saying, listen, you know, I think that when two people have a certain opinions, we can agree to disagree on certain things, and maybe that person's perspective may be good for something at a certain time, and the other person vice versa, right? And I think that's one of the problems I see a lot of times with social media, it doesn't foster good discussion.
Well, I think you're wrong in one thing is that you should try to offend people. I hate social media, and I started it just as a joke, as a fun,
I know.
offend people. It's like, get off this, like you see, especially with personal trainers, and you see all these fit little 20-year-olds showing their ass. I'm like, and I said this from back in when I started this, is like, if you are on there professing to be a trainer and you're 20 and your ass is not nice, you shouldn't be on here. I want to see being that pert when you're 50.
I'm just going to say, I mean, this is why, I mean, I'm talking to you right now, because I think, like, you know, and going back, that's why I wanted to talk about your numbers, because, listen, Matt, at 162, and let's just get this straight, people. Mark, did you use a suit doing that, like a bench suit? Did you use any wraps? Did you, like, give me an idea what you did? Do you have any sort of external prophylactics?
I think I was shirtless out in the sun somewhere. There was a suit in one of those crappy little gyms by the track.
Yeah, and I think this is a key point here, is this progression, and slowly. And what's your take on this idea? Because I picked this up from Charlie, that the speed carries the weights.
Yeah, I tell that all the time to people, especially when I think for athletes, the most important exercise is a clean. Don't even have to do a jerk, just a clean. The speed of what you can go from zero inertia to your shoulders. And it's, you know, I have these athletes in there trying to lift this thing up, and it's like they're just muscling it up with all their strength. And then you have these little guys come up. I said, guys, it's a leg exercise, okay? Stop trying to pick them up with your arms. You're never going to do it. It's like a deadlift and drop. That's what it is. You got to the faster you can get that thing high and drop under it, the easier it's going to be. So it's all about speed. It's got nothing to do with strength whatsoever.
Yeah,
a little bit.
So, and you right now, like, if people want to get a hold of you, Marcus, I know you work with Max Domi, right? Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Any other people you want to kind of, you know, that we don't know of, or maybe we do know of, but that you work with?
No, actually, most of my guys are up and coming hockey players. Those are the ones I like the best, because, you know, Max has already made it. So I'm just hoping I can make him a little bit better and help him in any way I can. Right. We have a lot of input. A lot of his program this year was done by Matt Sundin over in Sweden. We call him up once a week, and we put together the conditioning aspects from track, because Matt's used to do a lot of track, and a lot of Swedes do all track work in the summertime.
Right. So
put together some of that with hockey. I don't know anything about hockey because I can barely stand on skates.
I'm in the same camp.
But I love to work with athletes who are trying to make it. Like a lot of AAA guys, a lot of OHL guys. So people wouldn't know who they are, but that's my wheelhouse. Those are the fun, because those guys are so hungry. They're this close that they're really, really hungry, and I love working with guys that really want it badly. So those are the guys I work with most of the time. Not too many of the pros, although I write programs for some pros. Right.
And if they want to get a hold of, you have a website, Mark?
Yep, markmckoy.com.
markmckoy.com. And you also wrote a book, did you, on Amazon, right?
Not really. I was playing around with it.
It's a book. It's you're an author.
Actually, I'm actually in the process of writing a real book. So
okay,
wait for that one. I was just sort of playing. I like to try different things and see how books. The reason I've never written one really is because there's too many books out there of like, oh, here's my life. This is what I did. Here's how to train. Here's what to eat. I don't want it to be like that. I don't want it to be like everybody else's book. Oh, there's another athlete, another Olympian writing about how great they are. What they did. So yeah, I want to put a little different spin on it.
Well, I think people should get a hold of it personally. I think there's some. I was looking at the table of contents in there, and I think there's some simplistic sort of take advantage of some of Mark's experience. I think there's definitely some wisdom in this, and what you're talking about here. Like I said, I can relate this back to talking to Charlie, to some of the stuff, and Charlie had a big influence on Al Vermeil as well. I listened to a lot of stuff he was talking about. So there's a continuity of this knowledge that I think, again, you're up against a lot of these equipment companies and other personal agendas that sort of defy this reality of simplicity, which I think you sort of solely espoused through your trading career and through your current life right now, which is, I think, really amazing. And so I think people should get out and get that book from Amazon. There's a little plug for you. And then, if what your next book's going to come out, is it more for kind of general population, or is it basically for like athletes? What is it for?
No, this one is just general pop. Like my passion right now is helping people to get the most out of themselves. Whether it doesn't matter if you're a pro athlete or life. I think there's just too much misinformation, or I shouldn't even say misinformation. I should say it's just too, like we've been talking about this whole time. It's too complicated, and it doesn't have to be.
Yes.
People have to be motivated. Like, why should people have to be motivated? It should be automatic. It should be simple enough that I don't have to get up in the morning. Oh, do I have to go do that workout, or do I have to go on this diet? It should be a lot more simple than that.
Yeah, and I think there's as more and more people kind of life gets more complicated in one sense. I think really you need to try to you need to do your best to try to simplify things, not to make more complications. And so, we're not we're not bashing like the technology here. So I want to make that clear. We're just saying, listen, let's just kind of put it in context and say, listen, if I'm going to spend, I think a mega wave machine, I think one time was calling for like $20,000, and I think the company gave that to Charlie. And he would use that, but then you would also ask the athlete, like, how do you feel today? You get almost the same information from the machine, but you can, again, it's like weighing it out. Like, if I'm going to spend 20 grand on a product or X amount of $100 or something like that, what is it going to give me in terms of actual data information that I can really make a huge difference into my training? I think that's one of the things you kind of alluded to earlier. So
simplicity.
Yeah, simplicity. So anyways, I do appreciate your time, and we do have you recorded this time, by the way. I checked the other Skype thing, so you're on. I'm going to put this up in 2 parts. And well, I want to get you back again, and I'm going to try to hunt up some topics, and hopefully we can have like a, I do want to get your opinion, definitely your opinions on things, but I maybe add 2 cents in there a little bit here and there, and maybe have a discussion, have a friendly discussion. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I think we're quite aligned on so many things that if you wanted to do it more for like once a week or whatever, and then like have it shorter and talk about a single topic, and so we can expand on each topic so people can have a clearer understanding of it in a simplistic manner.
Yeah, I think we should start doing so. I have a podcast. I'm starting another one, and it's just me rambling. Really, it's not really, but I like to get you in on that one, and it's called Joes to Bros.
There you go. I mean, again, if we can get
it's just simple. It's, again, taking this stuff that we talked about here and the simplistic weight training program, tempo training. Don't make it too complicated. You shouldn't be spending 2 hours in a weight room. If you're spending 2 hours in a weight room, you're doing like, we're talking like maybe half hour, 45 minutes max. That's including the warm up, by the way.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really what people kind of need, and I think definitely I've organized some stuff on my notes there, so I think maybe as I kind of like talk about stuff, maybe you might get you in on some of these things. I like to get and the way I look at it, Mark, is it's about promoting information, and whether it comes from you, comes from me, it's like you said, getting out there, getting this stuff out there, because I think it's time really that, how many more times, you want to know that this thing works, for how many other people it's done the same job with. How much more proof do you need? Do you need like a long-term meta-analysis to see that this thing works? Yeah. I don't think so. I think that you have to sort of take into account reality as well. And
I agree.
So let's talk, let's chat back and forth, and maybe we can get you back on in about a week's time or so, or 2 weeks. We'll see.
You let me know, buddy. I'm around.
All right, Matt, and keep up the post, man. I love them. I don't know when you post them kind of at random times just sometimes, but if I'm doing something, whatever I'm doing, I put it on. Trust me.
I'm committed now. I can't stop. I've told people I'll be there every day. So even if it's a short one, night I got to get one in every day. So I'll be there.
And everybody, go out and check out Mark's book again. Check out his Instagram posts. He's got quite a few of them, and just do one of these things. And he's telling you to do. I think you're gonna get some results. Sleep well, fast well equals. Yeah, I like that. That's a good one. You came up with that. I wrote it down. No, I give you. It's on record. I give you full permission to use it because, like I said, we've gotten to a point now in our careers that you've seen things, and I think it's just now like, what, just work with this, keep it simple with these people, and I think that's what basically is going to help people, not trying to overcomplicate it, having to download an app. And again, I'm not saying these things are bad, but I'm just saying the more things you add to a person's life, the more stress you create. Yeah, 100%. And so you want to really keep it so they can just focus on what they need to do. They have a few things, and you recommended a app that it's called Interval. What is it called again? Oh, just an interval timer. Interval timer. Everybody go out and get one, because when you're doing the tempo work and stuff, that's what you're gonna need. Like, you can see it right here. People want to see what it looks like. Interval timer. Download it from the App Store. It's free, and it's a great way to do your interval training without having to think about, how did I do 10? Did I do 12? Just do it for, like I said, start with 15 seconds. You're good to go. Okay, perfect, Mark. Thank you so much for your time. We got 2 episodes, so I'm going to release one today or tomorrow, and then a couple of days later, I'll get the other one, and I'll send you the links when I'm done. Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Yusuf. Have a great one. You too. Take care. TheSystem.ca podcast disclaimer. We're not here to tell you that we know everything. We're just here to present possibilities. The information presented is by no way intended as medical advice or as a substitute for medical counseling. The information should be used in conjunction with the guidance and care of your physician. Consult your physician before beginning this program, as you would with any other exercise and nutrition program. If you choose not to obtain consent of your physician and or work with your physician throughout the duration of your time using the recommendations given, you are agreeing to accept full responsibility for your actions. By continuing, you recognize that despite all precautions on the part of the system, the art and science of coaching, there are risks of injuries or illness which can occur because of your use of the aforementioned information, and you expressly assume risks and waive, relinquish, and release any claim which you have against the system, the art and science of coaching, or any of its affiliates as a result of any future physical or illness incurred in connection with or as a result of the use or misuse of this information given. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including photocopying, recording, or any other electronic or mechanical methods, without the prior written permission of the system, the art and science of coaching, except in the case of brief quotations embodied in critical reviews and certain other non-commercial uses permitted by copyright law. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. If you like the content, please hit the subscribe button. Check out TheSystem.ca for more information on services and more content like this, and also products. Take care.